There was a time when many people were happy to make their own decisions on many areas on how they ran their lives. But today it seems we have warnings and guidelines about most things. Sometimes this is advice that people are glad to take, while others just simply think it's from do-good authorities. In some cases, people reckon it's an excuse to maybe pop on an extra tax on food that's perhaps high in sugar or salt, or to send alerts out about the weather if it happens to change. What do you think? Has this emergence from our government's advice or guidance become too much? Are they getting too overprotective? Or has it become necessary these days for warnings to be in many corners of our daily living? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Official advice, its pros and its cons. One thing is for sure, many warnings that we get on certain food packages or for people showing dangerous behaviour has been subject to study over the years by many experts and has saved countless lives and many more injuries. So that's got to be a good thing. But many ask the question, has all this health and safety warning gone too far? Can we not be left alone as sensible people to make our own minds up about ourselves and to care for our families? By the end of this video, we'll be very interested in whether you think this extra protection from authorities that we have has just been brilliant, or has it just stopped us trusting our own judgment? Let's begin with the British weather. The old saying, if you don't like the weather in the UK, just wait half an hour. Well, today, if we get a heat wave warning, that'll just mean we've had a temperature over 27 degrees for 3 days. We get yellow, amber and red alerts for the heat. Now, back in the 1970s, the weather report would just simply say, it's going to be hot for a few days, folks. The weather is the news today. Not just about the heat, but we get warnings about the rain, the cold, the wind, all telling us how we should take extra care or how dangerous it all is. Do people check their phones for alerts before deciding to put on their hats before leaving the house? I'm sure many of us remember heat waves in the past, and we know how to conduct ourselves during this considered extreme weather, don't we? But many would agree that it's important to look after each other in this extreme heat. Calorie counting. It's been around for years. Indeed, my mother bought a calorie counting book in the 1970s when she was on one of her numerous diets. You know, those diets that they're going to start tomorrow? But now it seems we are reminded of how many calories are in everything. And to top it all, we get videos and documentaries of how we should be surprised at how many calories are in certain foods. Our food packaging includes labels with calorie content and recommended daily allowances. And even many restaurant menus with the pictures of the food all have the calories right next to them. So, for example, if you were going out for a meal to treat yourself and you've maybe been watching your figure for the last few weeks, but you want to spoil yourself or enjoy a special occasion, I wonder for those people who are watching their weight, are they made to feel guilty when ordering a meal or a dessert, being reminded of their calorie intake? But back 60 years ago when we cooked from scratch, not only did we know the calories as we cooked with fresh vegetables and fresh meat, we also had a fair idea of what was fatty and what was not exactly diet food. That goes again with nutritional information on our packages such as fat, salt and sugar. But on the other side of the coin, there's probably a need for this to be displayed today, when we see ready meals and super processed foods in the place of what we ate in the past. Again, we knew what was in our food because we put it in there when cooking. I remember fast food in our house, it was either a round of toast or a sandwich made quickly. Not a 900 calorie burger that leaves you wanting more even after an hour of eating it. One would have to say, on food such as this, information on junk food is probably more important. But today, are we being told what to eat and more or less when to eat it? Don't eat after 9 p.m. But it is good that manufacturers are being held more accountable for what ingredients they shove in their processed foods or their breakfast cereals. But in the past, many did say this phrase, a little bit of what you fancy does you good. To me, that translates as Brits knowing themselves. Having certain foods, but not in excess, would perhaps negate the need for having so many food label warnings. It is the case of being told that we must eat 5 different portions of fruit and vegetables a day, or we must have at least 2 litres of water, otherwise we're doomed. Did most of us have that intake anyway, when, as I say, we cooked and baked from scratch, much more before the age of convenience foods? Here's a controversial one. Alcohol intake. We can remember the adverts being on every commercial break, and I'm sure many people do. The laughter of the Cinzano Bianco ads, lagers, the baby sham that was not only for girls, and the TV soaps and drama shows where it seemed that everyone was pouring a drink or having cocktails after 6 p.m. Packed public houses where socialising came with a couple of drinks on the rocks, the mini bars that we had in our homes, or the posh cut glass decanters that were being won on quiz shows. This all came without warnings. No warnings on the beer pumps displaying the ABV, the alcohol by volume, for your reference. Were people less responsible with alcohol before we had government guidelines of how many units we should consume every week? Today's guideline about alcohol intake is a maximum of 14 units spread over the week, with a break, to keep us safe and healthy. That 14 units, by the way, amounts to around 6 pints of beer, or 6 medium glasses of wine, or 14 shorts per week. And I wonder how many people adhere to that requirement. TV adverts now have slogans such as drink responsibly, and I wonder whether people need to be told. But warnings do have their places. No one is going to argue about the drink and drive campaign and the advice for those who are not in control of their drinking. However, there's a lot of help out there for people that do need help with their intake. But for the most part, people enjoying a night out or a party are being sensible with their intake. I'll let you decide. Have we gone too far with all this practical and medical advice that seems to be in abundance today? 14 units? I don't know. Smoking is probably one subject that has improved with warnings over the years. However, the warnings we have today have not always been around. I'm sure many of us can remember the ads saying that smoking was a great way to relax or cigarettes are good for the nerves. The poster campaigns, the advertisements everywhere. Magazines showing pictures of handsome men and women all relaxing with a cigarette, and TV campaigns depicting very much the same. Now, health warnings on cigarettes in the UK started to appear on packets as late as 1971. And surprisingly, it wasn't a legal requirement, but a voluntary agreement between the tobacco industry and the UK government. The very first warning was, warning, HM government, smoking can damage your health. Notice the word can instead of does. The impact, I would say, was very different. The notice was in black letters at the bottom of your cigarette packet, and it wasn't until 1991 when warnings were actually a legal requirement. The warnings got larger, and by 2008, graphic picture warnings were added to the packets of cigarettes, cigars, and rolling tobacco. But many people were upset by these pictures, saying it was far too graphic and scary. Smoking bans began with public transport, notably the London Underground in 1987, from advice from the Fennell Report. This was completed after the terrible King's Cross fire that was caused by a discarded cigarette which made its way to the pit of a wooden escalator and caught light when it came into contact with the debris of oil and built-up dust and dirt, which resulted, sadly, with a loss of 31 lives in 1987. However, interestingly, smoking was banned on London Underground trains and tubes in 1984, but at this time did not include stations and platforms until after the devastating fire. Today we see no advertisements for tobacco at all. which includes sponsorships, and even cigarettes themselves are hidden from the customer's view by retailers. And as we're aware, smoking is banned in most public places. And just to cut a rumour, not even the bars of the House of Commons. Well, some people even say that smoking has gone too far with its warnings and bans. They say that public houses have closed up, with a smoking ban being partly to blame. Vaping, however, is all over the shop shelves, on full view. What do we think of that? There are some warnings that people would redeem either ridiculous or totally obvious, such as taps in public places, such as the workplace, with a yellow sticker next to the hot tap saying, "Warning, hot water." Cups from takeaway food outlets, with a hot drink warning label on them. It's a hot drink, even though many of us have ended up with a lukewarm coffee from these places on many occasions. I've even noticed warnings on a ready meal that I bought from Marks and Spencer's. Now, before you think I'm posh, it also had another yellow label, reduced price. By the way, best to go in after 4 p.m. if you want to grab them sort of bargains from M&S. But this label stated, and this is no lie, on a microwave meal, warning, may get hot when heated. However, I keep saying that word, but warming up something with high sugar content such as jam is well worth a warning, because that jam gets hot, far hotter than the rest of the meal. Medicine warnings on sleeping tablets may cause drowsiness. This one I got off Reddit or something. Warning for mothers with a baby stroller: do not fold with baby inside. I've seen it on a bag of peanuts. Warning, may contain nuts. People think that's ridiculous, but some dangerous allergies are connected with other types of nuts that may also be processed in the same place, which may affect people. So therefore, I think that warning has some logic. Someone mentioned to me the other day when I was about to make this video, they saw a warning on a new iron that they bought, and it said, "Do not iron clothes whilst wearing them." It's important though to add that most of these warnings, as ridiculous as they sound, have come about due to people having accidents, or being silly, or trying to claim lawsuits for things that they've not used responsibly. Well, I do have to finish with the infamous British rail sign warning, to do with waiting for a train as a platform. This sign replaced the important warning sign of passing trains causing air turbulence to stand back, as they can actually pull things towards the track. Forgive me at this point, but this is the warning I used to see. Keep away from the platform edge, as you may get off. So before I go, I'd love to hear if you've seen any ridiculous warnings on packages or when you're out and about. It could be worth another video, but I always like to hear from you anyway. I'll respond to every comment. Thank you again, you two, for watching.